Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 847, NFL Conference Games and Pickleball Defeats. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Eddie, how's it going?
Yeah, things are going well, just as they were 15 seconds ago before you disconnected your microphone. So, but yeah, things are
Take two, always better.
been a decent week for me, so everything is fine.
Nice. Yeah, just got back from a trip, so a little tired, but probably not as tired as you are. We are recording a little later than normal, but wanting to get in before the conference championship games because two big games with some really different storylines. So have a little bit to talk about, I think.
Yeah, two good games too. I mean, to be expected at this stage, but there have been in some years past where, I suppose you can pick holes a little bit in the Broncos and there's a backup quarterback and it's not you're sort of,
Unfortunate.
maybe the AFC side of things feels a little bit weaker. The NFC, it does. I think the two best teams made it to the NFC championship game. And, so that's nicely set up, but yeah, no, looking forward to it.
Nice.
Before we get into that, though, talking about best teams or most talented people or most athletic people advancing, surviving, thriving. I know listeners of the podcast, you teased the start of your professional pickleball career, and I know that you played in a tournament just over a week ago now. So, some updates, please.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, we played in the Mega Minnetonka Pickleball Open. Saturday was the singles matches, and then Sunday was the doubles. So Saturday, my partner and I both did, individual in the singles. The first match, I was very nervous. I tried to take in some of what you had said about, kind of being the aggressor, kind of putting on a strong face, but I was genuinely a little nervous. I wasn't even fully sure if I knew the rules completely. And, it's rally scoring. So like, depending on what point you're on, you have to be on one side, like the left or the right when you're serving. So like, I was kind of thinking about that a little too much and not kind of playing. So the first match I lost, and I thought I did okay. And then I kind of went to the next match kind of thinking like, all right, I'm more athletic than anyone here. Like, I'm just looking around. These people are nowhere near as athletic as me. I clearly can't hit it as well as them. I'm still new to, like, my backhand is awful. But likewise, most of their backhands are awful. So my partner and I both discussed that the best move in singles is to just always put it on their backhand. Like, just try everything you can to just make them mess up. And I started doing that, and it was actually working out pretty well. And just the ability of me kind of like being able to go like across, like court to court, like across the court pretty quickly. I was able to save a lot of points, make some good rallies. I ended up winning one and then losing three in the round robin. But each match was getting better. Like, I felt genuinely better each match. Went into the bracket, into the playoffs, and the guy that had beaten me by like 6 or 7 my first match, I pretty much smoked. Like, I think I beat him by like 5, I think. So felt pretty good. That was the quarterfinals. Went into the semifinals.
And for listeners, these are first to 21.
First to 21 rally scoring. So every point's a point. And you change at 11. So I went up against the number 1 seed in the semifinals. Switching sides, I was up 11-5. On the point to switch sides, I like short stepped and kind of caught my like foot a little bit and definitely fucked up my Achilles. And at the time, I remember being like, shit, that doesn't feel really good. And kind of tried to ignore it. It still hurts now a week later, like to walk. So I definitely messed it up pretty good. I then went 12-5. And then next thing I knew, it was 14-12. I was losing. So ended up going back and forth with him pretty well. But I think that mentally just took it out of me. Like at 12-5, I was sitting here being like, oh man, I'm I'm gonna absolutely smoke this guy. Like
So, yeah,
this is
see,
gonna be
that's it.
close.
It's the wrong
And
mindset.
it is. And I don't know the mindset yet. And then so first it was like, I'm doing really well. I'm gonna crush this guy. And then once the points started accumulating, it was like, oh shit, I'm screwed. I hate this sport so much. And then ended up, I think I lost 21-19, or I think I pushed him even 22-20, maybe it was something like that. Like it was pretty close. And then he ended up winning it all. So I felt pretty decent actually coming out of and even that guy came up after and he was like, "Wow, you really improved in 4 matches. That was like very impressive." He's like, "You definitely had me there. You kind of just kind of fell apart a little bit." And I was like, "Yeah, I felt way better." So day 1 ends, I feel pretty good about myself.
To
My
just
partner got 3rd, so
before we
she
get
felt
into
pretty
your
good.
before we get into your doubles, to speak a bit about the mindset, which I'm sure will reemerge in the doubles conversation. The tough thing, right, is that unlike American football or ice hockey, you can't get a lead and then just protect a lead. You have to
Yeah.
keep winning. And so there is no moment that you can really allow yourself to start having the thought of, I'm gonna run away with this. You can start to think that you're in like a comfortable position, and that can impact your tactics a bit, and like taking fewer risks, or trying to sort of really put your foot down at certain moments. But you're still having to live within the sort of restrictions there of essentially you're almost 0-0 always, because if you don't win another point, you don't win the game regardless
Yeah.
of how big your lead is.
No, that definitely factored in. And I think the other thing that factored in too is a little bit with the rally scoring is it kind of takes the serve a little bit out of the equation because you can't, like, if you fault, you automatically lose a point. It's not as if you fault and then he just gets the serve and then you can win the serve back.
And
So,
and to be clear
and
on that then, you hold serve as long as you keep winning points, or you're
yes,
alternating okay, so if you start serving and you win 21 points in a row, you
game
just
over.
serve the entire time.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and that was another thing, we had discussed previously is like what you do to who serves first and things like that. So most of the rackets, like you'd said, you can spin it, but a lot of them didn't have it. So we went to the behind the back 1-2 system. I don't know if that was something that also
It's
happens
pretty
in tennis.
not really, that's pretty primitive. You
Okay.
didn't you
That's
didn't do the suggestion of which side of the court is closest to whatever that was in Washington State? You didn't pull that one out?
no, I did not. No. So yeah, so I actually felt pretty decent and genuinely had fun. Like I left that I was extremely exhausted, completely gassed. And the matches, so another thing that we discussed, there is no warm-ups at all. So you warm up before the tournament starts, and then
With
once
who
it starts with
And
whoever you want.
that's like your own responsibility, or
Yes.
is there like the tournaments people are committed to, like, "Hey, you need to warm up, I need to warm up, let's go hit."
Kind
Or
of, if you wanted to. So I had my partner who at the same time was doing the women's
but if you
singles.
were
So we
by
warmed up.
yourself, would it have
No, you
been
could put
easy?
the yeah, yeah, there was people kind of being like, "Hey, are you
Okay.
into singles? You wanna warm up?" Things like that. But then once it started, there was no warm-ups for any of the matches, but the matches were just back to back to back,
Yeah,
and I
you were
think it was
texting,
a
like,
smaller
there's
tournament. It was a
yeah.
small tournament, so, like, I was gassed at the end of that day because, again, the only benefit I had over everyone else's was I could move around the court a lot better. So I was saving a lot of points just by like running like a psycho around the court. And it was exhausting. I burned
And
1,200 calories.
did you feel like that effort, you were reaping the rewards of that effort?
Yes,
So
for
you felt
sure.
like chasing balls down, you were either winning that point or at least winning a subsequent point as a result of the effort, not just like headless chicken running around a
Yeah.
court and it's like, "Yeah, I'm still losing anyway."
Yes, but here's the caveat, and this is what my partner and I talked about. At this stage, it's a benefit, but then once I go up a level, it won't be a benefit anymore because me just being able to, like, return it back and get it somewhere over isn't gonna be enough, where they're then gonna be able to kind of just pick holes and do it. So, like, right now, like, I can get it over and kinda get it, like, into a good spot where they can fuck up their backhand and put it in the net, and it's like, I've won that point. But if I move up and I play someone better, they're just gonna fucking rip it down the other line and then I'm going to be screwed, So like
Yeah.
that
The, the
that advantage will drop a little bit as I go up.
the only counter to that is making someone hit an extra shot is always useful, and there's nothing more frustrating than if you do feel like you've hit a winner, someone manages to get it back, and then you lose that point. The psychological effect of that can be tremendous because not only is it such a demoralizing experience there and then of like, I shouldn't have lost that point, but also the next time you go and hit a shot, in the back of your mind, knowing, oh, I have to be a little bit more precise or a little bit more powerful to actually hit a winner, and the unforced errors that can come from putting someone in that, having that be in their mind. At the same time, I don't know necessarily if at this level of pickleball, your opponent is putting that level of thought into what they're doing. So it may be, it can be one of these things where you'd be like, "Oh, I really think I'm tearing them apart," and in their mind, they're just like, "This is a pretty fun game. I wonder what I'm going to have for lunch. Oh, it's my turn to serve."
Yeah. Well, one guy tried to get me on in the quarterfinal match, tried to get me on the score. And I think he maybe genuinely messed up, but I was up 16-13. He served, got a point, and he was like 16-14 me. And I was like, whoa, whoa, what? And he was like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, 16. And I was like, no. And then we did it again, and then he did it again. So that made me kind of
Mm.
think that maybe he just had it in his head wrong. But I
Yeah,
was like,
which
no, no, stop. That's not the score. I just said it last time.
Yeah, that's kind of I can get that. It's a lot of points to track. A little easier
Yeah.
actually, I think, in the rally scenario. I found that like when we were playing and you're
It's
not
way
doing the
more.
rally, it's
Yes,
harder because then you can go like 7 points without a point being scored. And
it
then you're
is.
like, wait, you won that point, but no, 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 it's still 15-14, like, and has been
Yeah.
15-14 now for 25 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
that to me is a
And
little
it's
bit more
tough.
complicated.
It's tough because like, the music's usually on as well, and people don't speak loud, so then I
Yes.
can never hear what they say the score is, so I, like, scream the score every time I serve, just so, like, I'm clear, and at one time, I had gotten it wrong, and they had, like I had served, and they had just, like, stopped it, and I was like, "Whoa," and they're like, "You said it." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine, like, I said it wrong, like, that's why I'm
Well,
yelling it." But
stopping is the bold move.
yeah, it was. But anyway, so day 1 ended, felt pretty good. My partner was extremely confident going into day 2. We get into day 2. We played our first match, which happened to probably be against the worst team, besides us, and we beat them pretty handedly, like, we kinda crushed them, and we left, match 1 being like, "We fucking got this. We're about to run this tournament. This is over." We got into the next match against, I don't know, a married couple age 60 maybe out of 50, 55 to 60. I'll put it that way, 55 to 60. They demolished us. They did the whole stacking thing, which I don't know if that's in tennis as well. I don't think it is.
No, I don't.
But so in pickleball, you can like if you have a lefty and a righty, you stack it so that your forehands are always in the middle. So like if one person's serving but then, like, they should be on the right side. The other person will stand to, like, the left of them serving, even if they're on the left. So then, like, they, like, serve, and then they both, like, shift over really quickly. It's just annoying, and it's funny because, we were at a pickleball club a week ago, and someone had said that to me, like, "Oh, you're lefty. You and your partner should stack. It's so confusing." And I was like, "I'm not gonna do that shit. That looks stupid." And then it really genuinely was kind of confusing because there were times where I was like, "No, it's definitely he should be serving over there." And it's like, "No, no, it's because he's serving, and it's, like, really her serve, so they're, like, on this side of that si" and it was like so it kinda got in the head, but they just demolished us. Like, it was bad. And at that point, I said to myself, "I think we're in trouble here." And then the next team beat us pretty bad, and then the next team beat us pretty bad, and then the next team beat us pretty bad. We got into the playoffs, and we played a team that we had lost to by, like, I think 4 points. Every match we played, we would go up 3 right off the bat. Like, we started strong every time, and then we just had unforced error after unforced error after unfor like, 90% of the points they got were us either hitting it into the net or hitting it 6 feet over the fucking court. Like, everything was an unforced error on our side, and that definitely screwed us. Like, completely different than what we did in the singles, where like we always kept trying to get it back and let them make the mistake. We just constantly made mistakes. The team we lost to in the quarterfinals, we don't like being bullies. We don't like being mean. To say it was an unathletic couple would be not right for unathletic couples because they could barely move. I mean, it was bad, and yeah, it was very embarrassing. I'll say this: if I were giving a TED talk and I shit myself mid TED talk, I don't think it would be as embarrassing as I was when we left that court after losing in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, right? You're gonna have to check the idea that athleticism is gonna be such a huge difference maker for you, even in the singles, because you're only talking about, what, a 20-foot wide court. So, you can have a pretty significant athletic advantage, and it's probably not gonna matter that much, and in doubles, it's
It
really not
doesn't
gonna
matter
matter
at
at
all.
all.
It
Like,
doesn't.
ulti because it's not even like tennis where you can really move someone around the court or move them forward and backwards, because once someone gets to the net in pickleball, yeah, yes, you can lob them, but that's a pretty hard skill. So
And
you
that actually killed us. There was one team that was really good at it, and he lobbed over us probably 5 or 6 points. Like,
oh, man, that's bad. Okay,
when
let
people
me
are
let's
good at it,
withdraw the athletic
it's
advantage.
it's
You're
tough.
getting lobbed 7 times.
He
Maybe
was
the
good.
athleticism, maybe it was not there on not quite on show as much as you thought, but yeah, I mean, it's tough. I was just looking up the stacking thing because I was trying to wrap my head
It's
around
so
exactly
annoying.
what it meant. It would not be legal in tennis.
Yeah.
So for listeners who, if it's not clear, it's basically both players are standing on the same side of the court as someone serves, and then the server is moving to the other side of the court to kind of fill that space. To me,
Yeah.
that feels like you would be able to very easily cause issues for
You
them.
Yeah, I think I think when you're good at it, that's what you make them think. So then you kind of try and go back to where they're not, but then they instantly fill it and then they have like an advantage. It's weird. It's really weird because that's what we tried to do every time was like, all right, look, they're both on this side. As soon Oh, and the other thing that they'll do is when they stack, they do a really slow serve. So, like,
They
when
give
the
themselves
woman was
time to
serving,
move.
she would hit it, like, way up in the air, and the first 1 or 2 times, I was like, "Why is this woman serve so bad?" And then, like, we started realizing, "Oh, she's just doing it so that that guy can shuffle back over and fill the gap before the ball even hits." Like, it's, like, they eliminate that advantage you have. So they were good at it. I mean, I've seen a few other people at, like, the club do it, and they weren't as good. Like,
The
they
other
were
thing I
actually
don't
and they won the tournament pretty
the other thing
easily.
I don't get about it too, which is it's, and I'm not disputing that it's advantageous in pickleball, but the idea that you want both forehands in the middle. Like that to me, again, from a tennis perspective, seems so counterintuitive where you would you probably want backhands in the middle. That's, but I don't know. I still feel like,
So the person who was explaining to us said it works really well in the first few levels of pickleball because people can't hit the sides very well.
yeah. Because I just
So
think
like it's
as soon as you could hit angles, you're gonna be dealing with 2 backhands,
yeah,
and then that's gonna be, like, super advantageous, or even at the although I guess with the dinking, it doesn't matter so much at the net. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, I was pretty down after doubles. Like it was bad. It was really, really bad. It was embarrassing. It was pathetic. The effort was bad. Like it was just not fun. So I left day one having fun. I left day two about 30 seconds away from putting my racket on eBay. Like I did not want to play again. I haven't played since actually.
But will you be playing again?
Yeah, we'll probably start up again next week. and play again. Because if anything, I at least had fun with the singles because it was a good time. Like the singles was fun. It was kind of like I felt more of a sport to it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's more just you. You're moving around a lot more. You're a lot more active. Whereas a lot of the doubles is just like hit. Both people move up to the net, and then someone just gets like a slam, and it's like match a point. You know, like it's not as fun. There's not as much like
I
movement and stuff.
I think at a low level, it's not gonna be as fun. I think as you get better, and then it's nice rallies at the net,
Yeah,
and
maybe.
people have fast hands and like, control and nice touch, then I think that could be a lot of fun if you suddenly have 20-shot rallies with all 4 players right at the net. But, yeah, I can understand that if it's realistically 3 shots and we're done,
Yeah,
and you've not really moved,
yeah.
it's tough. Speaking, obviously, before we get on to the NFL, the Australian Open is going on. It's drawn up a couple of moments of controversy.
Oh yeah.
So
My Instagram feed, I don't know why, but I've been getting a lot of the like I don't know, like I guess controversy, but I was gonna say like a lot of the chatter back and forth people are giving each other.
the two big talking points. So last night, the big issue was with, uh, I mean, really tough conditions in Australia. It was 39, 40 degrees centigrade, that is. So over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And Jannik Sinner was playing in a match where he was struggling. He was 2 sets to 1 down, and he was cramping extremely badly. Oh, no, it was 1 set
Oh,
all, and he was
heard
and he was
heard that,
cramping,
buddy. I know your pain.
and he was clearly on the verge of just retiring. He was done. And then the Australian Open decided to close the roof on the court that he was playing on, which not only meant that there's in a rest period because there's whilst everything gets acclimatized, but also then they pump air conditioning into the closed roof.
Oh hell
So
yeah.
it allowed him to both recover and then play in playing conditions that meant that he had no physical issues and came back and won. There are accusations circulating that this was only done because it was for Jannik Sinner and he's such a big star. They didn't want him to crash out in the first week of the tournament. Now, by the rules that the ATP Tour put in place, there you it seems like the Australian Open followed those rules. So, for example, as soon as the temperature goes above 86 degrees Fahrenheit during the first 2 sets, uh, a player can request a 10-minute cooling break at any moment in time. So Jannik Sinner would have been able to do that anyway, which is the sort of delay that he was allotted as the roof was closing. He's allowed during that time to shower, change clothes, do whatever he wants. He can leave the court. So there was nothing out
He
of the
probably got
ordinary
IV'd.
there, possibly. And in addition to that, they suspended play on all of the outside courts. Again, conspiracy theorists say they only suspended play on the outside courts because they wanted to make it not look suspicious that they were closing the roof on the
Yeah.
center court to allow Jannik
Nice.
Sinner to go through. But tennis is not supposed to be played at 45 degrees.
I mean,
Like
that's
that's
I couldn't even imagine that because like the amount you sweat just standing like outside that hot, but then moving that much. Oh my god. Like I can imagine he probably sweat 10 pounds easy.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
it's this idea that like, yeah, okay, it's a good break for him, and it's unfortunate for his opponent to feel like they were in a position to beat, the favorite to win the tournament and maybe you felt like you had an advantage in those conditions, but there's also every possibility that that guy was moments away from cramping as well. The other argument too is, okay, even if Jannik Sinner had then retired and the other guy is doing himself sort of physical damage through the process, do you want to have a tournament where then suddenly in the 4th round of the Australian Open every single person is seriously injured, running on fumes, and you just have this kind of joke of a conclusion of a tournament? I don't quite understand what some of the criticism, sort of what the background is. Criticism I do get is the criticism of Naomi Osaka, who has received quite a bit from both former players, current players, for her behavior during her match against Christea, during which she once very notably, but on several occasions, audibly encouraged herself, kinda gave a "come on" after a first serve fault, which is not against the rules, but it's incredibly bad tennis etiquette, and which was raised during the match by Christea. The umpire should have stepped in and said something, in reality, did nothing.
Yeah.
Naomi Osaka then brought it back up again as they were shaking hands. It was a kind of typical cold
Well,
tennis handshake where you're
what but real quick, here's my thing though. When she won her last point, she also then screamed "come on" again as she won.
that's okay, though. I mean, t
I
I think
know,
you're
but
being an asshole.
but
She knows what she's doing, but
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Well, what I'm saying is like in how you look in that situation, you've heard someone complain that you're saying "come on" and "come on" every time you're hitting a big shot, and then you beat that person and scream "come on" after you beat them. That makes you look like
Yeah.
that makes you look like that person.
Yeah, and then in that kind of post-match on-court interview, she alluded to it again. She said something along the lines of, "Yeah, I had to kinda dig deep, sort of encourage myself maybe a bit more than my opponent would have liked," or, something along those lines. Just a kinda catty little response, which, you're the bigger player. Okay, Osaka's ranking has taken a hit over her, last couple of years, but still, she's kinda carry yourself a little bit like you've been there before. Don't pretend like you're unaware of the fact that that's just terrible tennis etiquette. Rules or not, you're not supposed to celebrate a fault anyway. Certainly not. But you don't need to be giving yourself, vocal encouragement in between a first and a second serve. It's just not like it's not something that's done. And what I hate about it, and this is not to take us into dangerous waters, but so many people reacted to it as like, "Well, you wouldn't criticize it's because she's not white." And there was an element to this of the backlash of non-tennis people, and this is what drives me insane. I literally saw Queen Latifah on on Twitter being like, "Oh, of course, this is the same criticism that Serena Williams faced her entire career." It's like, give me a break, all right? I'm as liberal as they come, but the reason why I am criticizing Naomi Osaka has nothing to do with her skin color, it's just her behavior on court. But to double down on the Osaka criticism then too, she also came out in round 1 in this, weird outfit. She had a sort of sun hat on with a huge veil, and like a butterfly on her hat and different things. She came out not even carrying her own tennis bag because she wanted to do this fashion statement. What an asshole. Like,
Oh boy.
no, for 2 reasons here. 1, it's really disrespectful to your opponent. Because you can't tell me that if that was a if she were going out there to play prime Serena Williams, she is not coming out in to make a fashion statement as she's entering the court, nor is she not like, you carry your own tennis bag out. That is the way tennis is played. You carry it on, you carry it off. This isn't you don't have a valet who comes along and does it for you. So to go like, not only am I gonna make a fashion statement, there've been plenty of I mean, Serena Williams made fashion statements throughout her career. None of them also involved her not bringing her tennis bag out or wearing some, like, ornate hat that served absolutely 0 functional purpose just so that she could then have to sort of put a veil over her entire bench. It's so stupid. It's so disrespectful to your opponent and to the tournament and to the sport. And to a large extent, we need to check the kind of egos of athletes across all sports, where there's this expectation now that everyone must be capable of being superstars. Like, regardless of the sport that you play, it's like you must be as big as everybody. And then not only that, that it feeds into my views on to sort of the money that athletes now expect to make, and it's reflected then in terms of what we saw, like, Nick Kyrgios and Sabalenka do, of, like, being a professional athlete entitles you to the having the mindset of you must be making hundreds of millions or aiming to be a billionaire. Like, this is the mindset you must have as a professional athlete. Is there not a moment where we go, "Do you know what? Making $30 million a year as a professional athlete is enough." You don't need to be launching your fashion brand. And the idea people always hold up the Michael Jordan did it. It's like, yeah, he's an icon on a level that you will never even get close to reaching. And so what he was able to do, you shouldn't be able to do. It's funny because my mind was running over how annoyed it made me to watch it happen. And then I saw a clip with of like completely unrelated as I was just going through, I think YouTube Shorts. Um, and it was an interview with Jason Alexander talking about when they asked for $1 million an episode from Seinfeld. And he was basically saying that originally they wanted to actually just be getting a percentage of the revenues, but that wasn't going to happen. So they asked for the $1 million and they got it. And he said, I knew when we asked for it that we were going to ruin television because we were setting a benchmark that now
Yeah.
everyone needed to make. And I think ultimately this is what we're seeing in sports too, where everyone must make more money and everyone must use the last quarterback to make X amount of money as the example of how much money they should make. And there should be a world in which we say, Deshaun Watson, you actually don't deserve to make. Like, not every new starting quarterback who signs a new deal needs to be breaking the record for how much money you've made. This is absurd. And I don't know how you have this conversation, but it needs to be had, and it needs to help curtail athlete behavior across the board.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever gonna happen, that's the issue. I mean, you thought maybe for a second, and I know this is a weird one to bring up, but you thought maybe for a second that the Daniel Jones contract would almost kinda be a little bit of that because Daniel Jones was, a up and coming potential quarterback that was due for a new contract. And, all the talk was he's going to make this much because X quarterback made this much. So he's got to make more. And he actually had like a pretty owner team friendly deal at the end of the day. Like he didn't make as much as most people predicted based off of what the previous level had been. But then that, obviously just gets blown out of the water. But you do occasionally see athletes kind of get checked a little bit. But for the most part, the trend, when you take athletes on the whole, it's still going up with no end in sight.
Yeah, and look, it's tough, right? Because if it's me, I'm not turning down money that's on the table. I'm not gonna sit there and negotiate against myself and say, oh, hey, the Cleveland Browns want to give me $55 million a year. You know what, guys? That's a little outrageous. I think I'm more of a $25 million a year contract. Like, that's fair market value. We'll both be happier. It takes a little bit of pressure off me, but at the same time also makes me infinitely more cuttable. Like, there's a number of reasons in addition to not to wanting to maximize how much money you make, you're also hurting yourself from that perspective. But, like, I mean, look, we might be about to watch a Super Bowl between Sam Darnold on quite a team-friendly contract and Jason Stidham, like a backup quarterback. So there might not be a
Yeah.
lot of money being spent at quarterback position in the Super Bowl matchup. But I don't know. It really infuriates me just to watch sports now. And you see it with NIL deals in college football, just this idea that everyone must always be making, and that's not me saying athletes shouldn't be making money and that it shouldn't be appropriate to the amount of revenue they bring into their sport. That's not what I'm saying. But just like, enough is enough at a certain point. This is our issue with our world with billionaires too. It's not just athletes that this annoys me with. There is a moment in time when you don't need to be making more money and just relax and don't, like, constantly think about, like, what are these new opportunities? Where can I have more revenue streams? How many more companies can I endorse? Oh, I can launch a protein, like some supplements, and I can have a fashion line, and I can do this and that. It's like, just cool it. Why don't you just play your sport and enjoy your incredible life? Like, is it that much better to make $75 million a year over 68? Like, did that radically
Yeah.
change your
I
experience?
I mean, that's a really nice ascot trip every year.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Anyway, that's my old man shouting at the sky. I'm sure I will have
Yeah.
annoyed some listeners. Look, we
Well,
don't write our rants out. I'm speaking off the cuff, so I'm sure I've not properly expressed myself at certain moments during that rant either.
well, I'll side shift you a little bit here to another topic that is dear to your heart that you mentioned. You mentioned, you watching some YouTube shorts. I got on the plane this morning in Calgary, and it was -8 degrees Fahrenheit. So what's that, like -20 Celsius, somewhere around there. Um, and I got on the plane and I looked out and I hadn't realized we stayed at the hotel in the airport, which is one of the first times I've ever done that. Which I would not recommend because the noise is terrible. But it was a really early flight and it was just like, let's just do that. But I hadn't actually even noticed that it had snowed a little bit and that it was kind of snowy and icy outside as the plane was going. And before we took off, the captain got on and goes, "Hey, sorry, we're a little late. We just got to go now and get de-iced, and then we'll be ready to take off." And then in my mind, I thought, "Oh fuck!" Eddie always tells me a lot of plane accidents happen because of bad de-icing incidents.
Well, it's
this
usually
is
when they
the,
forget
this
to
is a
de-ice.
scary one. I know. More like they
So,
don't do a good job de-icing. So the whole time I'm watching out the window, being like, "You
are you
better
trying to
fucking
evaluate their
de-ice
work?
this plane, man."
You missed the
Don't
spot
short
there.
me. Don't short us.
No, I think you should be relieved as soon as you heard them say, "We gotta get." I'd be more worried if you were like, "Did we de-ice?" That's the one you gotta be worried, because that's when you
Okay.
start to take off, you're like, "We got no lift." That's when you that's when you got the real problem.
Yeah. Well, we de-iced for sure.
Speaking of YouTube Shorts, before we get on, as long-term listeners will know, I often rewatch movies and TV shows, not through YouTube Shorts, but through shorter clips on YouTube. Sometimes that can take the form of me flicking through YouTube Shorts, and I won't even be thinking about a movie, and then the YouTube short will pop up and be like, "Oh yeah, that movie. I've not seen that in a long
Nice.
time," or "I never saw that. Let me do this." So, uh, obviously, YouTube knows that I'm susceptible to get sucked into this experience, and over the last 3 weeks, I've been hit by a lot of these clips of The Fastest Indian, that movie with, uh
The the cricket with
No, no,
John
no, it's
Hamm?
about no, with Anthony Hopkins when he's trying to break the land speed record in a certain type of motorcycle. Good movie if based on a true story. If you've never seen it, go watch it.
Never heard of it.
Over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, I was getting hit by, like, a new clip every couple days, and eventually I thought this kinda weird because usually when I experience it, they're all there. Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you get them pretty quickly. This was like, I saw part 1, 3 days later, part 2 hits me. 3 days later, part 3 hits me, and so I went to the comments, and when I watched the final one where he breaks the record, the top comments were all, "We made it. We made it, everybody. We finally got to see him make the movie. It's been a special couple of weeks. Thanks for all being here with us." Just people who were going through exactly the same experience as me of of and realizing that there's this kind of community of people who are doing it and just really positive in a world of such negativity. There's these people like embracing this idea of like, "Oh, we saw him do it. We stuck through. We're the ones who made it. We watched all 9 parts over the series of a month. Good job."
It's so weird.
It
What
was
a
kinda
weird
weird.
group.
It's a little bit weird. And
You should
then
invite him
little
over for dinner. You guys can watch, like, one clip of
and
something.
then people comment, "See you at the next movie. Oh, can't wait to see you all again." Just which movie's next for us?
Oh my god. Oh, that must be a great Reddit community.
Yeah.
"Guys, don't jump ahead. No spoilers for part 6."
But that's the crazy thing. You couldn't because it was being released. It was a delayed release. And so just like
That's
everyone else.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? At a certain moment in time, at some point in the future, a company's gonna release a brand new movie that way,
I
where they
thought that's
go,
actually was gonna be at the end what you were gonna
"No,
say was like, "It
no,
turns out this was a brand new movie."
no," that movie came out in, like, 2006 or something. But at some moment in time, there's gonna realize there's a big enough culture of people like me where they go, "We're gonna release this 2.5-hour movie in 3.5-minute installments over the space of a year and a half." And we're gonna have these people completely focused on just making sure they don't miss a short.
Well, before we get on the NFL, you mentioned the, Naomi Osaka incident with the etiquette. So I have actually an oh boy, etiquette question for you.
You
It's
wanna
too
try
many
again?
cues there. No, I don't. Too many cues there.
Only 2.
Too close to each other. Um, so we stayed at, a really nice hotel. I was in Banff, And I stayed at the Fairmont Springs in Banff, which is like this hotel on the castle, like a castle hotel on a cliff. Really nice, uh, pretty expensive hotel. Has like a spa, a gym, 5 restaurants in it, a whole bunch of shopping. Very big hotel. It's like 4 separate properties that are all connected by like either tunnels or like above ground stairwell kind of things. A lot of people, and this is where I don't think it's appropriate, but I guess people are different. A lot of people would just walk around in like a robe and slippers, like from their room to, let's say, go down to the hot springs that are in the pool by the hotel. But this is not a small hotel. Like, at least some of the people walking were probably walking 800 meters, even more maybe, to get from their room to the springs. And you're walking by restaurants, people eating dinner, like people like in meetings, like in conference centers and things like that. And it's just people in robes walking around the hotel. I think it's the weirdest fucking thing ever. Like, why can't, and there's full dressing rooms and full locker rooms and everything for the pools. So there's no reason why you can't go, then put on your robe, go into the pool, come back out, and do whatever.
Yeah, so I would never do it because it would just make me feel uncomfortable and
It's
very
weird.
super self-conscious, and I just wouldn't enjoy that. But the only time I think that's kind of acceptable, and you do go to hotels where you see that a lot, is like if it's a spa hotel and the focus is the spa, and then people are sort of moving around in gowns and slippers because they're going from one treatment to the other, and maybe they're going and eating lunch still in their gown because that's sort of part of the I'm gonna have my detox juice plus my light lunch, and then I'm gonna go back and have a massage. E
Not
whilst
not
ag
the case here.
whilst again, I still wouldn't personally be able to do that. I still get that you're sort of stuck yourself into that environment, and you have to accept that that is what it is. But, yeah, no,
Like, for
and
instance, I was there for a conference, and at one point, there was, you know, the conference part had ended and people were kind of just standing out in the hallways and the spaces conversing. And 3 or 4 people in robes just walked by 150 people dressed up in like nice suits or, like nice
well,
clothes. It's so weird.
to play
There's people taking like wedding photography photos and then just a guy in a fucking bathrobe
that's great.
walking by. Like,
That's
it's
good.
so weird. And then
So
even weirder, wait, real quick. This is the best one. I'm in the gym and some guy walks in with a robe and slippers and starts doing bicep curls.
that's amazing. I love that guy. We should get him on the podcast.
I looked right at him, and then he kinda looked at me, and I think he thought he was, like, really tough because he got, like, 35 pounds, and I
Yeah.
looked at him, and I couldn't help but shake my head, and he kind of just, like, I think it pissed him off, and he went to go get the heavier ones, and he did, like, 1 or 2 and really struggled, and then put them down and left.
Now, here's a real
As his
question.
robe is, like, flying everywhere.
Nothing else nothing under the robe?
I don't know. I
Because
mean,
that
I'm
would
not
be
I'm
if
not
he was
staring at him.
if he was just sat there with bicep curls with just robe open, just dick and balls fully
Yeah,
on show while he's just doing it and looking you in the eyes, then that guy
robe and
is
slippers.
amazing. But, okay,
Came in,
see,
did 2 sets of biceps and left.
that guy's an idiot, but maybe he was about to have his massage and he wanted to make sure he was pumped, like, right before.
Oh.
But
But I don't think most of them are going for massage. I think they're going into, like, the hot springs or the pool
the
because
only
there's, like, a real
pushback
big outdoor hot springs.
only thing I will say is they're closer to being right than you guys are going and having a conference in this spectacular environment. Them going to enjoy the hot springs and relax and be sort of calm and peaceful in one of the most spectacular settings in the world. They're closer to having the right trip
But
than
one of the buildings is a conference center, the whole
yeah, that's
building.
because that's how they need to monetize the experience. But you still understand what I'm saying versus a bunch of science assholes who go, "Where should we have our conference this year? Let's go and do it in this incredibly beautiful." You guys should be having your conference in, downtown Cleveland in a conference center with no windows, just staring at projectors from 1993. That should be your
Oh,
world.
thanks.
Like you shouldn't get to pretend you're doing scientific research whilst really, gallivanting around the world doing trips that everybody else wants to do. So I think they're closer to being right, but they can use the gallons a little bit less. Or you
Thanks.
guys start going to, that's the real
In
move.
gowns.
Next year, go in a gown. Just wander into one of your conferences in a gown.
robe.
Yeah.
Just coming in a robe.
This is where we are. When in Rome.
Maybe I'll have to try that next year.
Yeah. Now, transitioning one final rant that pushes us actually towards
another
the
rant.
NFL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw, but Seahawks head coach Mike McDonald has been speaking this week about how little he sees his family. I don't know if you've seen any of it. He had an interview where he basically said over the course of the regular season, he sees his son on average between 30 to 60 minutes a week.
Oh man, that's terrible.
This is not necessary. You're not trying to save the world. You're a head coach of a football team. Find a little bit more free time to spend with your kid. It's not worth it, honestly. Even if they win the Super Bowl. Maybe he hates his kid. You're right, but yeah, assuming if he doesn't hate his kid, because again, this is the problem. Is he part of it? He's speaking about A, how tough it is. Okay, that's hard, and B, how important his family is. I mean, they can't be that important to you if you're not even at least willing to.
I love this. You're telling him his family's not important.
No, but like, I understand that being a head coach of an NFL team it's a very, like you're going to spend a lot of time in the facility, a lot of time watching tape, but you can't tell me that he doesn't have the possibility, for example, to watch a little bit more tape at home and maybe at the same time be sitting with his kid or doing, like there aren't some of the responsibilities that he has as a head coach that he could continue to kind of do whilst also being in his home environment and interacting with his child a little bit more. I don't know. It's a tough one for me. I just can't believe that's the time commitment requirement for a head coach in the NFL is 1,000 hours a week, basically.
I kind of believe the time commitment because we've seen enough Hard Knocks where we've seen the one with was it Robert Saleh one where he's in at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
and
look
he's
how
got
that
9
went for
kids.
But
he's got 9 kids.
But here's my point is, and this is an issue I've had throughout my career where I will ask questions like, do we really need to do this or do we do this because this is what we do? So is this NFL head coaches have created the mindset of, same with a quarterback, we must be there at 4 a.m, 5 a.m, like otherwise we're fucked. Like this is how we have to prepare. Do you need to do that? Or are you watching hours maybe of slightly unnecessary game tape? Are you having meetings that you maybe don't need to have? Could you find a way to reduce your weekly workload by 10 to 15% without having a tangible impact on outcomes? I would say probably.
Yeah, no, for sure. I heard on average Dayball spent about 4 hours a day in there, and it worked great for him. He was a very successful head coach, so Dayball spent sometimes 4 hours a week.
The other thing is, if I'm an owner of an NFL team, irresponsible to hire a guy with family. Just start hiring single.
It's clearly not impacting him. He's just completely ignoring his family. So how's that impacting him?
Well, it might be impacting his family.
Yeah, but as the owner, I don't think the owner's hiring for the family health.
No, and clearly, as a final NFL topic, I presume you saw the interview with Bill's owner, the press conference with Bill's owner, Terry Pagula, ties us in.
Keon Coleman under the bus. That was so good.
And for listeners,
I do feel bad for Keon Coleman, but that was great. Keon Coleman probably just went home after that game, being like, "Man, that's a shitty end to the season," and then wakes up the next day being like, "Why is everyone talking about me?"
Yeah, and so for listeners who didn't see it, and where the Pagula name might be familiar, he's the billionaire owner of the Bills, whose daughter is a professional tennis player. So might be a reason.
The Penguins.
Yeah,
and he built the Penn State hockey Division I arena.
No one knows about that stuff. But
the Pittsburgh Penguins owner?
No.
Or
But yeah,
Sabres, Buffalo Sabres, maybe.
so the question came up about criticisms from that had gone public about from McDermott and other coaching staff members talking about how they felt like poor decisions had been made from a player personnel position decision making, and he jumped in to say that one example of this was that actually the general manager, Brandon Beane, hadn't even wanted to draft Keon Coleman in the last draft. And that was, to quote, that was Brandon being a team player. He's taken heat over it. I'm here to tell you the true story. And basically, that the head coach and the other coaching staff wanted him. General manager didn't really want him, but decided to draft him anyway. I mean, Coleman hasn't been a terrible draft pick, it has to be said, of all the decisions that the Bills have made. He's not been
He's not been
it's
good.
not been the worst. Then
Yeah,
2
he's not
clips
shown up.
emerged. So there's one clip of Brandon Beane then in the buildup to
The draft.
the draft, who seemingly saying that he wanted to draft Coleman. So
And that
that made him
he
look
ran
bad.
slow at the combine, and they were excited because that meant that he would drop and they would be able to get him.
Which I guess if you're defending him, he may have accepted that that was the consensus pick, and so he was just, saying that that was kind of the better move. The other thing I feel bad about is it was a clip that went viral at the time when Coleman was signing his NFL contract and has been brought back up now over the last week, showing that to kind of illustrate that he's an idiot and this is why the Bills shouldn't have drafted him. But basically, him saying, "How do I sign my contract? Do you want me to write my name? Do I do my autograph?" And people laugh at it. I actually don't think it's that dumb of a question, and I understand why in that moment he doesn't express the question particularly well, but I get that what he's really asking is, do I write my full name? Do I do a signature? What is it you want me to do here? And that's the kind of he's a 21-year-old kid signing a huge contract. I don't think it's a crazy question to be like, how do you want me to sign this? Do I
I don't know. I mean, at 21 years of age, you probably had to have signed your name on some sort of form at least 50 times.
not a contract necessarily though.
But
Not
but
certainly of
any
that
form where it says,
magnitude.
like, sign your name and then print your name and date, you've probably done that at least 50 times.
I just I don't think when you're put there, I don't think that's the craziest question to ask. I've signed lots of contracts where I've asked people, and the questions get a little bit more like, do you want me to initial every page? Like as you start to deal with different things, sometimes they look at you with a blank stare of like, why would you initial every page? We don't do that. Just sign where it says sign. That's I know that's a more complicated question, but when you're 21 years old, I don't think it's crazy to just he's sold out by whoever that is standing next to him at the time who treats him like he's a moron when he asks the question. When he's like, do I do my autograph? And he gets hurt by the fact that he says, do I do my autograph or do I sign my full name? If he just said, do you want me to print my name or do you want my signature? What do you want me to do here? It's not the stupidest question in the world to me. Like, I can get why someone signing a contract would ask that. Like, because to push back on what you're saying, I bet you pretty much every school form he's ever submitted, he probably just printed his name. He's not doing like a swirly signature there. And so now he's asking, what do you want? Am I signing the Declaration of Independence here? And you want me like full
You
flare
think he
going
knows what
on?
Declaration of Independence is?
Or do you want me to just write like just print out what my name is? I don't
Speaking of this, there's been a lot of, like, different athletes' essays circulating. This is now another big fake news one I get often.
the the Bo Nix fake one.
So there was a Bo Nix, there was a Jackson Dart one, and I saw who else? I just saw someone else as
Oh,
well, and
the Miami
it's
quarterback, the fake one.
Tua,
No, the
Carson
Carson
Beck.
Beck.
Yeah,
Y-
it's the
Him with
same
him,
one. It's like the
but
same
this
essay.
but this was I said the Carson Beck one I saw. It's him like defending trans athletes.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. The one I keep seeing is Oh, shit, I cannot remember now, but it's like it's a thing from, like, 2008, like, it's not even close to them having done it. I forget what it was. Oh, fuck, I cannot remember. Yeah, it was so stupid. I don't know why these are the weird things that pop up on my Instagram. Fake
Once you've
athlete
engaged with them
essays.
once, like, this is the problem. But all right, on that note, we can turn our attention to the NFC and AFC Championship game. I guess we can start with the AFC Championship game as it comes first. Um,
Well, I have a few interesting facts to start us off,
all right.
and you can tell me if you think they're interesting or not. So the first stat I have is that this is the first time since 2010 that the conference championship weekend won't have an MVP quarterback on the field. So it's the first time in 15 years that every quarterback is without an MVP. The last time that happened was 2010. It was Ben Roethlisberger, Mark Sanchez, Jay Cutler, and Aaron Rodgers, who at the time had not won any, but then went on to win 4 later.
Reasonably interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, again, that could be next year done
The
with either May or Stafford about to win it.
Well, the only reason, yeah, it's less interesting is because certainly one of the it's either Stafford or May winning this year's MVP, so that slightly undermines the sort of significance of the statistic because we are, about to have one of them have an MVP to their name.
Yeah. The next one, I think people have already probably said this, you've probably already heard this, is the head coach names. So right now we have in the AFC and the NFC, we have the same name going against each other. So you have Sean McVay versus Mike McDonald. And on the other side, you have Sean Payton versus Mike Vrabel. So Sean and Mike versus Sean and Mike in both the AFC and the NFC. That's obviously the first time that's ever happened. But it also sets up the possibility that the Super Bowl could be played between a pair of coaches with the same first name. Do you think that's ever happened? And if so, how many times?
I think it's definitely happened just because I'm going to presume that there have been some Mikes. Is it going to guess? Mike seems such a common NFL head coach first name. I'll say it's happened 4 times.
It's happened twice, but you are correct. It is Mike. So Super Bowl 32, Broncos head coach, I'm going to take a quick guess, Mike Shanahan versus Packers head coach, Mike Holmgren. And then Super Bowl 45, Packers head coach Mike McCarthy versus Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. So we might get our third Mike versus Mike Super Bowl. And I'm sure we'll get into this, but the other one is Jason Stidham is making his first start of the season with Bo Nix out. So this will be the 7th quarterback since 1950 to start a playoff game without starting in the regular season. And only one of the previous 5 have won. So you have Taylor Heineke in 2020 with Washington, Connor Cook in 2016 with the Raiders, Joe Webb 2012 with the Vikings, Frank Reich 92 with the Bills, Gary Danielson 83 with the Lions, and Roger Staubach in 72 with the Cowboys. And Frank Reich was the only one to win that playoff game. And then it goes even worse than that because not only has he not started this year, he hasn't even thrown a pass this year. And he'll only be the second quarterback to ever do that, with Joe Webb being the only other quarterback to not have even thrown a pass in the regular season, but to start a playoff game. And Roger Staubach is the only one to make his first start of the season in the conference championship. So he's in rare company here, looking to
All
win.
right. Well, I'll also throw out my interesting stats. So you have these are 2 offense versus defense kind of matchups. I think that is simplifying the equation slightly, certainly in the Rams Seahawks game. But you're looking at the Patriots, who are the number 1 scoring offense in the AFC, against the Broncos, who are the number 1 defense in the AFC based on points allowed. And then you have the uh, Rams, who are the number 1 offense in the NFL based on points scored, up against the Seahawks, who are the number 1 scoring defense. So you have this kind of weird offense versus defense matchup. And this is obviously not to say who necessarily either one of us will pick, but we should say that historically, that type of matchup overwhelmingly favors the defensive side of things. So in the Super
Interesting.
Bowl, the number one defense has played the number one offense 8 times, and 7 of those have been won by the number one defense.
Wow.
In the NFC Championship round, there have been 3 matchups of this exact kind in the past, which is sorry, 2 matchups of this exact kind in the past of number one scoring offense playing number one scoring defense. Both of those have been won by the number one scoring defense. So in both instances, whether that's the Seahawks or the Broncos, there is an advantage there to them as the defensive sides.
Interesting. So I guess maybe we'll start with the Patriots Broncos game,
Yep.
and I have two interesting stats to lead us into that one. So one less relevant, one I think actually could be more relevant. So this one I actually think is pretty crazy. New England has the most Super Bowl appearances for any NFL team. They've made it to the Super Bowl 11 times. Despite that, they've never played a Super Bowl in California. And there have been 13 Super Bowls in California, the second most of any state. So despite having the second most in the state and New England having the most Super Bowl appearances, they've never made it. However, Denver has made the Super Bowl 8 times. 4 of them were played in Denver. So they have quite the hit rate whenever a Super Bowl is in Denver. Don't think there's much relevance to that stat, but I thought that was pretty interesting that New England's never made it to a Super Bowl in California. The one I think is more interesting is they have played each other 5 times in the playoffs. This will be the 6th time. The home team has won every time they've played. And this is notable because 4 of those 5 games were in Denver. And Denver won that matchup against the Patriots in the playoffs. And I do think that this is a little overshadowed with how difficult it can be to play in Denver. When you're not accustomed to it, you're not used to it. You have the weather is an issue, which for the Patriots isn't much of an issue, but the altitude is definitely an issue. And I think having the Broncos having home field advantage is probably one of the best home field advantages in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw that last week, right? Where you just see teams get gassed. And if you can go up tempo, if the Broncos can try and force it, you're up against a Patriots defense, which has definitely caused issues for teams. If the Broncos can run a high tempo offense, that's maybe a little bit harder to do with a backup quarterback. But if they're able to do that and just really drain the Patriots defense over the course of the game, or in a scenario, they spoke about last week that was on the broadcast, they were talking about it, how confident the Broncos were heading into an overtime situation where they feel like that's an even bigger advantage for them as the kind of stamina, a test of stamina favors them even more. In the end, I guess that worked out. They were one, unusual incompletion slash interception away from that not being the case and losing in overtime. But yeah, it's certainly a huge advantage for them to deal with that altitude in that environment.
All right, so let's get into this one then. So Patriots at Broncos, both 14-3. Patriots are 4.5-point favorites. It's being played 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday.
According to the official
Oh,
bookmaker of the Big Chill podcast, they're currently 3.5-point favorites.
down to 3.5. Okay, 3.5-point favorites. 3 p.m. Eastern Sunday on CBS. So this is the Nance and Romo.
I'm going to phrase this question in the most annoying way, actually, before we do the more specific. Do we like this? Do we like the fact that neither of these are full primetime games? That they're doing, if you see what I mean, that you're not doing, they're
A
adjusted
Saturday and a Sunday
times.
night.
No, well, you've got the kickoff. This is a game that's kicking off slightly
So it'll
earlier
be
than a
1 p.m.
normal.
In the local spot, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah,
So
like
in
they're not.
Denver, it's going to be a 1 p.m. game.
Yeah, and then even the Rams Seahawks game, it's not like it's not at the same time as a Sunday night game typically would be. It's in the middle slot between a Sunday night kickoff and a late, like, the sort of afternoon slate of games. It's kind of strange to me that last week the 2 games go into the traditional time slot, but then you get to the championship round and you adjust that. That feels a little bit bizarre to me. Like, why aren't you just doing that then? But anyway,
Yeah.
that's
I
not
I
too
mean
important.
I mean, we've talked about this many times. I love it. The earlier the better. That way you're not up till super late hours watching a game, which I mean for you, that means you're not up into the morning watching a game. I think this is fine. It's a little better than the 1 p.m., 4 p.m. kickoff. Like you're adjusting it slightly so it's not super early on the West Coast. But yeah, I think these are decent times, and especially now with the whole extreme cold going on in most of the United States right now, playing a night game might be unbearable, although they're not. But there was a potential there that if there was a game, somewhere on the East Coast or in the Midwest, it could have been very, very miserable at night.
Yeah, but, it's kind of so turning our attentions to the specifics of this game, it's a tough one because I've been pretty high on the Broncos throughout the course of this season. I think the Broncos are the better team than the Patriots, but the loss of Bo Nix is huge, and I think
So that was
in
gonna be
part
my first question to you. Actually, is do you
yeah,
think that's a huge loss?
it has to be. Whether or not everyone's kind of speaking about, like, actually, the drop off is not huge from one quarterback to the other, but you're still talking about a guy who's making his first start in 3 years
Yeah,
and hasn't
hasn't
played
thrown a
at
pass
all.
in a year and a half.
Yeah, this season. So, all the talk that there was over the course of this season with Shador Sanders and how impactful it is to not be getting reps. Well, he hasn't been getting reps all season and now has 1 week to prepare for the biggest game of his life against a pretty good defense in tough conditions with an offense. Like, yes, you could help him in by saying, look, you can game manage your way to victory. We just need you to not make mistakes. Just be efficient. Nothing spectacular needs to happen. What I don't like about that is people are then saying, like, that's how they won last week. Bo Nix actually was just an efficient game manager. He only outplayed Josh Allen by making fewer mistakes than Josh Allen. But Bo Nix actually made a couple of really big plays, really nice throws over the course of that game that I don't think just every quarterback in the NFL makes rolled out with 1 week of preparation. So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's huge.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of places that have said, and podcasts as well, I'm sure you heard it as well, saying that a lot of people are very high on Stidham. So Josh McDaniels was super high on Stidham and brought him with him when he was at, where was that, Vegas or wherever. And then when Sean Payton took this job, it was one of the first free agent signings he had was Stidham, that he really wanted Stidham in the building. That's all and great. But if he was really that good of a quarterback and that
He
highly thought
started.
of, he'd be the starter,
Yeah.
and you know what Sean Payton went out and did the next year? He went and got Bo Nix in the draft when he had Stidham there. So like you can't tell me that he's that highly sought after if one, he's not the starter, and two, you brought in Bo Nix when you didn't even have to at the time. So he is probably a better, above average backup quarterback, but he is not Bo Nix. He is not the starting quarterback. So it's definitely going to make a difference. I, I'm interested though in Sean Payton is a little bit of a wild card. I mean, this is a guy who, right, had an onside kickoff in the second half of to start a Super Bowl. Like he'll take risks and he'll try and do big plays and make game changing plays. So there is a potential here where he just puts Stidham in and lets him rip. And hey, if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, we took the shots, we took the opportunity. Like I don't know how he's going to approach this. Like it'll be interesting to see how he coaches this game.
I don't think he's gonna take at least to start with too many risks because he'll look at it and think the struggles that Drake May and that Patriots offense have had last week against the Texans and the previous week, against the Chargers. Like, they've looked susceptible to turnovers, and with the way that Broncos defense plays, he'll feel like they can kinda copy and paste what happened against the Bills last week. Drake May, through 2 playoff games so far, has been sacked 10 times, thrown 2 interceptions, and fumbled 6 times, losing 3 of them. He has, after only 2 playoff games played, he is 13th all time for the quarterback with the most fumbles in playoff history.
Amazing. I love it.
Like, that's remarkable. So, like, and I put it this way, even if you're the biggest Drake May optimist, that means that the future of his career, he's gotta be looking at the good news for him is Josh Allen is second with 15, so Josh Allen's definitely racking up some more. Tom
Oh
Brady's
boy.
number 1 with Tom Brady's number 1 with 16, but that obviously is being passed.
Maybe it's a Patriots thing.
But Tom Brady, that's 16 fumbles in 48 playoff games played
Yeah. Yeah.
versus Drake May, who has 6 fumbles in 2.
Yeah. It's true.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I guess the tough part is the Patriots defense isn't terrible and they're actually good against the run. They've allowed 1 touchdown in 2 playoff games and they've shut down the run in both playoff games. So I don't they might have to do a little more than just try and run the ball with Harvey. I mean, maybe they, have a lot of short passes and intermediate passes to break it up a little bit. But yeah, I think it's unfortunate that Nix is out because I think if Nix is in, I am pretty heavy on the Broncos here. And I
I
have not
agree.
even been a huge Broncos supporter all year, but I think they are genuinely a lot better than the Patriots all around. But without Bo Nix, it literally becomes a wild card. I mean, Stidham could fill in and play great, and then they still blow him out by 10 or 14, or he could go in as a backup quarterback having not played for a year and a half and do just that and throw 2 picks, 2 fumbles, and not be able to move the ball downfield. Like it's a real wild card here.
The other reason why I think it's tremendously disappointment is I don't think there's a chance he puts in 2 game-winning performances, this week and in 2 weeks' time. And so, to a certain degree, we will both be complete neutrals watching the Super Bowl. You kinda have to want the Patriots to win, I think, because I don't know, I don't either wanna watch Stidham against the Seahawks defense, sorry, just smothering him over the course of 4 quarters, nor do I want him up against the Rams, where then he really gets himself in a scenario where it's like, this is a shootout and we need points on every possession, and that's
E
not a scenario you wanna be in either.
Even if he has a really good game this game, like, and
Yeah.
you have that story of, "Uh-oh, maybe this is gonna be like the miracle backup performance
No.
playoff run."
Even if this game he has 350 yards, 5 touchdowns, I'm not
You
then
don't like
going
that
in.
story going into the Super Bowl.
No. I'll be like, "Good for you. That's wonderful. You've earned yourself a lot more money on your next contract, and maybe you're gonna get someone's
Nick
gonna give
Foles
you a
2.0.
chance." Yeah, someone gives you a chance, but, like, I mean, Foles delivered, yeah, in the Super Bowl, but Foles had a few games to get up and running. Like, we knew by this stage that Foles was, like, a capable quarterback in that team. So, yeah, I can't see him this week and next. I cannot see him putting in the types of performances that will be necessary in order for him to win. This is the more winnable of the 2. Like, it's a lot easier for me to imagine him not even being spectacular, just being okay. Like,
Yep,
I can see a scenario here where he has 220 passing yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and they win this game. 2 weeks
17-13.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now, he'll need 300 plus yards and a couple touchdowns and no interceptions. Like, it will be a whole different task. But yeah, it's a shame. For that reason, I think I have to pick the Patriots, even though they have been possibly the most underwhelming team of the playoffs so far.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, this is tough. I don't even know if I'm even gonna bet the winner of this game and maybe just pick a few props and just watch it and get the opportunity to root for the Broncos to beat the Patriots because I just generally don't think the Patriots are good. I don't think they deserve to even be at this level in the AFC Championship. So I don't want to see them go on. I agree with you though. It will suck if the Broncos go to the Super Bowl because it might not be a great Super Bowl. But at the same time, I think the Patriots could equally put up a stinker in a
Oh, no,
Super Bowl. Like,
100%. Look, I don't
like how much better will the Patriots? At least if the Patriots don't make it, I don't have to hear the fucking story about how the Patriots are back again and not having fucking
That's
played
fair.
anybody. Like, it's it's
The
it's annoying.
the winner the Super Bowl is really being played in the NFC Championship game. I will be stunned if the winner of that game does not win the Super Bowl, unless this is another scenario and the Patriots, the stars are really aligning for them. And it's like the Rams beat the Seahawks, and then a few minutes later, and Matthew Stafford broke his arm. Like, unless this is
Now
what's going to
backup
keep,
versus backup.
yeah, unless this is what's going to keep happening, I think whoever wins the NFC Championship game is winning the Super Bowl. But yeah,
I agree.
so you're picking the Patriots to win?
Yeah, and what's interesting is the spread started out at 5.5. Now it's all the way down to 3.5.
I just think people are convincing themselves this Broncos defense and that we kind of saw the Patriots struggle against the Texans and the Patriots struggle against the Chargers, and that had CJ Stroud not been just a complete abomination in that game, then the Texans would have
Yeah,
won. Like that's
it's not. They're not wrong.
no, it's true.
Yeah.
Now,
What's the over under? I'm looking at it now. 43.
43.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Two low
I'm just
games,
thinking.
43 and 46, but you've got good defenses and potentially quite
Yeah.
tough playing conditions.
Yeah, this one maybe I just for fun do the Broncos and the under in a tease. So 9.5 for the Broncos and under 50, and
Yeah,
hope
you're
that the
gonna
Broncos kind of win a close, low scoring one, just for fun. That gives something to root for. I don't love it.
Well, let's see if Gemini can get you excited for it. Let me try and get through this because I've really allowed Gemini to embrace its podcast flair here. I encouraged it. It did so well last week with kind of having that NFL Films vibe. So I
Okay.
encouraged that a little bit. Also allowed it to have a theme once again. So welcome back to the gridiron tape. Today we're looking at a Sunday where the very ground of the NFL is shifting. For our theme this weekend, we're turning to the prophet of the North Country, Bob Dylan. The old guards have fallen. The icons are in the rafters. As the anthem goes, the line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. But for 4 teams, the chance to rewrite that line starts today. Now we move on. it
Poetry,
sets this
man. It's fucking
sets
poetry.
sets the scene here. Background: the haunting low brass of a minor key orchestral swell. Visual: slow motion footage of Drake May's breath in the freezing Denver air. And here comes the voiceover. They call it the Mile High City, where the air is thin and the margin for error is thinner. For decades, this has been a graveyard for the New England Patriots, a place where championship dreams go to freeze. But these are not your father's Patriots. Led by the young gunslinger Drake May, they come not to preserve an empire, but to build a new one. Across the line stands a Denver defense that doesn't just stop you, it hunts you. They led the league in sacks, a wolf pack in the wilderness, but their leader, Bo Nix, is sidelined. The weight of a city now falls on the shoulders of Jarrett Stidham. He must find a way to navigate the Vrabel mist, a New England scheme designed to confuse the confident and crush the weary. In this thin air, the slow one now will later be fast, and the Patriots are betting that their evolution is complete. New England Patriots 20, Denver Broncos 16.
Wow. That is 100% the opening intro for CBS. They are just going to take that and voice and have like Jim Nance do the voice for that and then just play that out.
Not
That's
Tony Romo?
amazing. No, Tony Romo doesn't do the
No, I
voices though.
just because of the voice. But all right, we can now turn our attentions to the Rams at the
That did
Seahawks.
me get pumped up for the Broncos though. I'm not going to lie.
Well, they still picked the Patriots. The Seahawks are 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah, this is obviously the third time these teams have played. They split the series. Uh, More recently was the Thursday night game. Was Seahawks won by 1, 38-37. Was that it?
Yeah, when they went for 2 in overtime.
Yep. Um,
Came back from 16 points down. Really the Rams should be coming into this having won both games in the regular season matchup.
yeah. So I have one quick, like, weird random stat that I think is pretty good, and I think it's pretty telling to what both you and I think about whoever wins this game. So this is the 6th time that a conference championship game will feature a divisional matchup. The winner of that game went on to win the Super Bowl all 5 times. And the division winner won 4 of those 5 matchups. So pretty telling that when two teams face each other from the same division in the conference championships, that means that they're both pretty fucking good, and that the one who wins is the one who's going to win a Super Bowl. Most recently was the Eagles in 2024. And then 2021 was the Rams when they beat the Niners. And 2013 was the Seahawks when they beat the Niners. So just to throw a little Niners history in there for you.
Noticing a slight trend there.
Yeah.
Could also say if the Rams do win this game, they will become the first 5 seed in history to win 3 straight road playoff games to reach the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is pretty crazy. I think for me, I'm going to keep this simple in the eye test and who I think is genuinely the best team. And I know the Rams don't always play the best, and they do put up some efforts that are kind of confusing and head scratching. But I think at the end of the day, the Rams are the best team that I've seen this year when they are all out at their best. I think the Seahawks are probably number 2, but I do think the Rams are a better team than the Seahawks. And even like exactly what you said, the game they lost, that Thursday night game, I thought they were actually the better team in that game, but just got a little unlucky to lose that game. So I'm hoping that obviously the Rams put their best effort forward. And I think if they do that, they win this game and they beat the Seahawks. I am not discounting Seahawks home advantage. I do think that is another stadium where it is a genuine home field advantage with their fan base. But I do think the Rams have more talent across the board, and I think they can win this game.
Yeah, no, I think in terms of the testing conditions, obviously we saw the Rams go to Soldier Field last week, play in a cold environment, and it didn't seem to impact that too much. And actually, as the game wore on, they seemed more confident in sort of opening their offense up. And I think that stands them in good stead heading into this game in terms of how they feel like they can maybe force the issue a bit more. And yeah, realistically, they should have won that game. You know, you have a punt return that completely changed the momentum of the game, and then it's not to dismiss the impact of special teams, but, you know, if that's just a 15-yard punt return, which already is quite good actually, the Rams win that game comfortably, and we're coming into this feeling like they have the Seahawks number. Ultimately, too, I don't totally trust Sam Darnold, and I can't get away from that fact. He can prove me completely wrong tomorrow and 2 weeks from now and win a Super Bowl, and suddenly my perceptions of him will radically change. But I cannot shake the fact that in big games, at big moments in his career, he has laid an egg at times. And if you're telling me down the stretch, I either have to trust Sam Darnold or Matthew Stafford, who's surrounded by weapons that he is incredibly familiar with, and Puka Nacua, who can just pluck the ball out of the air from a sort of 55-foot radius. Like I want to be with the Rams in that environment, and not only that, to a certain extent, because of the way the Rams play, their defense is also good. But we kinda don't focus on that because of the fact that it's Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua and an explosive offense. But yeah, I think the Rams should be favorites even in Seattle, in all honesty. I think they might win this game kind of comfortably. And comfortably doesn't mean by 20 points. It means, by 7 points where they were never really losing, and sort of for the 3rd and 4th quarter, you sort of know where the game was going.
Yeah, I think, like, I'm sure the spread is a little indicative of the Seahawks kind of just demolishing the Niners last week,
Oh, yeah,
41
for
to
sure.
6. So,
It's it
but we've talked about that game was kind of a no-win situation for the Niners. I mean, half their team was out. But just to go back to the Week 17 matchup, when they played that Thursday night, the Seahawks won that game, but the Rams had 581 yards of offense compared to 415 for the Seahawks. So definitely a lot more offense. The other 2 points is Devontae Adams did not play that game. He's now back and is much healthier than he was. So that's a huge addition for the Rams. And Zach Charbonnet is out for the Seahawks, who he isn't their leading rusher. I mean, they rely a little bit more on Kenneth Walker, but Charbonnet is a good switch for them. Like it's that good 1-2 combo punch. So that's definitely a pretty big loss for the Seahawks. He's very good in the red zone, gets them a lot of touchdowns. So those are two things that could definitely swing them more in the favor if you're kind of leaning towards while they just played 4 weeks ago, how did that end up? That's kind of what I'm hoping to see again. Those are things that could definitely sway you a little bit there.
And
So
plus, just when you're saying the total amount of offense there, just to kind of dispel the impression that this Seahawks defense kind of has at the moment because of what they did to the 49ers of like, it's impossible to move the ball on them. It's impossible to score against them. Like, yes, they put in a very good performance last week against the 49ers and the week in week 18 against the 49ers, but against a very beat up 49ers offense and also just against they've kind of built their defense to stifle the 49ers, and they do it incredibly efficiently. And Shanahan seems completely lost as to how he can pick that particular lock. That doesn't seem to be at all the case for Matthew Stafford and McVay. They have it figured out a lot more. And so the things that the Seahawks can do to the 49ers, they cannot necessarily also do to the Rams.
yeah. And the other thing to note too is the Seahawks turned the ball over a ton against the Rams. So playing them 2 times this season, they have 7 turnovers in 2 games against the Rams. So
Yeah.
definitely gonna get some more turnovers there. But yeah, I think I'll go with the Rams here. I guess we didn't actually say this game is the 6:30 Eastern game, uh, also on CBS. They're both on CBS.
Are
Thought
they?
Fox would have one. Yeah, unless that's just a mess up. Oh, no, it's on Fox. It is on Fox. It's just a mess up. I just double checked. So that will be Tom Brady. Yeah. Yeah, so 6:30 Eastern. And what's the official spread?
2.5.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take the Rams here, and obviously I'll take the Rams with the points. And again, I think this will be an over as well. I don't understand why this is so low. I think that's a major overreaction to the Seahawks defense. I don't know how you look at a game going 38-37 when they played 4 weeks ago and think it's going to be a low scoring game. Like, I definitely think it'll be
Oh,
over
I mean, I guess
47.
part of it, right, will be playoffs scoring tightens up, and the conditions might be a lot more testing tomorrow than they were a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to pick the Rams. And, yes, you'd love to say if it were 3.5, you'd feel a lot more confident in that scenario that you just get the possibility there of if the game goes to overtime or if there's a field goal to win it late on that you're still okay. But yeah, I think the Rams will win outright, so it doesn't matter too much for me.
Yeah.
Now, Gemini
Oh, I
sets
forgot.
the scene.
Hold on,
The
hold on. Let me
sound
let me let me get let me get in the zone. Okay, I'm ready.
the sound of pouring rain hitting a helmet, the rhythmic chanting of the 12th man building into a deafening roar. In the Pacific Northwest, the clouds have gathered for a match that feels more like an eviction notice. The Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams have traded blows all season, split down the middle. One team is the league's most dangerous blade, the Rams ranked number 1 in total offense. The other team is the most impenetrable shield, a Seattle unit that allows fewer points than anyone else in the game. For Matthew Stafford, this is the twilight of a gladiator. For Sam Darnold, it is a resurrection. The lights of Lumen Field will flicker against the raindrops, and the noise will rattle the very bones of those who dare to enter. This isn't just about a trophy, it's about the soul of the West. When the clock strikes 0, only one will remain standing in the rain. It better rain for this one.
Beautiful. It's not going to rain.
They've really
Weather
built
report
that.
says no rain.
They've really built that preview around it raining. Gemini's fucked if there's no rain.
What they predict?
Seahawks 34, Rams 31.
Ooh, high scoring. I have to say two things here. One, after the last few weeks, I cannot imagine one person who can defend Microsoft Copilot over Google Gemini because
Hold
this
on.
is like night and day.
Let me give Copilot a chance.
Number two, I think next year we say we ditched the AI stuff, but then we just
We
have them
just do
write
it.
that up and we read it. And I go like, "Hey, I sat down this morning and I wrote a really nice intro for us. It took me a while, guys. Here it goes." What's Co-pilot's theme, football. The theme for this one is football. Everyone's playing it, and 4 teams are left.
It'd probably be like, and 5 teams are left. So, amazingly, and not for the first time this season, given it's I gave it
So
exactly the
so wait,
same
real quick.
prompt.
This is Microsoft
This
Copilot
is
now. You've
Microsoft Copilot, given
Okay.
exactly the same prompt. The first thing it did, I don't even know. It lost its to talk about sort of AI hallucinations. I don't even know. It's almost as if it's kind of plotted out the entire as if I were making. I don't know what it's done there. The theme that it's the theme that it's chosen for about the 15th time in the time that we've asked it to choose a theme. It's focused on music. It's chosen Thunderstruck by AC/DC. And here it goes. In the cold roar of January, the NFC Championship rises like a storm front, and this weekend's theme thunders straight from AC/DC's Thunderstruck. Two heavyweights collide, each built for winter football, one powered by precision and speed, the other by grit and momentum. The hits will echo, the stakes will shake the field, and when the final surge comes, only one will stand tall. As the dust settles and the stadium trembles, it feels like that immortal line, "You've been thunderstruck."
Wait, are all 4 teams playing at once? Is
I
this a
just said
Royal Rumble?
this is my call. So this is it. Team 1, 27, team 2, 23.
Insert team here. Oh my god.
A 4-point finish worthy of the NFL Films vault.
Oh my god. Microsoft Copilot, you are officially done and dusted.
It's pretty bad.
It's really bad. All right. Anything else then for the conference championship games?
No, I don't think so. I think overall, looking forward to watching them. Uh, yeah, probably the least I've had on the line in any way, I will say, in a very long time heading into the like I kind of will just watch both of these games just as a fan, which is nice. Not, I'm not invested either way in either team. I don't actually, aside from not really wanting the Patriots to win the Super Bowl, I don't really care out of the 4 remaining teams. And even though I don't want the Patriots to win the Super Bowl, I have seen it happen so many times over the course of my lifetime that it actually doesn't, like, it won't even bother me that much. It just feels like business as usual to a certain degree. So it's really one of those where it's like, I hope for just good games that I can enjoy from that perspective and not be openly rooting for one team or against another.
So we didn't actually discuss the college football national championship game. That kind of
Oh yeah, it's true.
got missed because we recorded right before that game. So we didn't get to talk about that one.
No, in the end, probably closer than either of us expected it to be. Indiana won, but
It wa The
mm, mm,
score was closer, I feel like, than I felt like Indiana had that game the whole game, kind of.
they did, but then still at the end of the game, Miami got the ball with a chance to drive down and win the game.
Yes.
So like it was one of those where it really felt like I can't believe Indiana are going to lose this. It had that
Yeah.
you had that feeling to it. Once they had that false start, then they had to settle for the field goal to go up 6, which to a certain extent, I kind of just don't know why. I think you almost just go for it to get the first down to seal the game because I always feel like if you go up 3, if you're only up 3, the other team will drive and you can probably hold them to a field goal and they tie the game, you go to overtime. Whereas with the 6, you're forcing them into 4 down territory
100%.
to try and score the touchdown. And I feel
Yep.
like it's more dangerous. As stupid as that sounds, and I'm sure there's data to show that what I'm saying is completely untrue. But that's just how it feels to me in a game at times. And I'd rather roll the dice, hope to get the first down, seal the game. Mendoza, one iconic play,
The
the
touchdown
run
run.
for the touchdown and him sort of bouncing off the first tackle, then extending with his dive and getting hit in his back as he reaches over the line to break the plane. Like that's an iconic play. That's when it want to be one of those gets shown for the next 20 or 30 years as like this is what you do. It's his Heisman moment post winning the Heisman. But overall, pretty bad performance from him, I would say.
Pretty bland. I wouldn't say bad. I think bad would indicate he was throwing interceptions and throwing bad
No,
plays,
I actually think
fumbles.
it's worse.
I think it was just
He
bland.
he wasn't adjusting his protection at times. There were instances where it was very obvious where the pressure was gonna come from. He took one huge blindside hit where it was just there was an edge rusher lined up on the outside, and not only did he make no attempt to like, "Oh, I think that guy is gonna be coming right at me. I should probably shift this and give myself a bit of extra protection." He then just stood in the pocket, not even with no sense of the danger that was coming from behind him, and got absolutely demolished. And the only thing you can give him credit for is he does get up, time and time again. It's pretty impressive. But that to me, in terms of I were an NFL team, it would worry me. It
Oh,
would
you're back
worry
out
me.
on Mendoza.
I've never I've never been in on him. He's risen in my expectations. I would not want to be spending a number 1 pick on him. He feels to me like a quarterback you should be taking between like the 20th pick and the 50th pick, and
Bo Nix. He kinda seems like Bo Nix to me.
yeah, and, like, if it doesn't work out, you're like, "Eh, yeah, you know what? He was the 5th quarterback off the board, and, there were reasons to think he could be good, but it didn't happen." If you spend a number 1 overall pick on him, it's a huge amount of pressure, and if you're a GM, like, you lose your job if he doesn't work out. Like, that to me, that's what would worry me.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, he feels very much like Bo Nix, where, like, he's a good game manager, he can make good throws, but he's never, like, pushing too hard to be the gunslinger, and he can move around with his feet, he can run pretty well, but I feel a lot of similarities to the Bo Nix kind of ceiling. I don't see him being, like, the next Andrew Luck.
He just and he
That
kinda just
level's
has
not
the
there.
all his really successful throws are kinda the same throw over and over again, which is like the back shoulder throw as the
Yep,
receiver's turning around, like, that's what
which is
he
so great in college to do.
Yes. Doesn't work quite so well in the NFL. You don't
No.
really see it that often in the NFL. I think that's gonna be a lot of picks if you try it because it's just gonna be corners just absolutely sort of like storming down a throw and just be like, "Uh-oh, pick 6." Mendoza's 3rd pick 6 and him just sort of looking slightly confused of like, "Oh, that would have won me the Heisman when I was in college." But, yeah, I worry a little bit about that. I'm
Yeah, so it was actually really funny for me because I was on a plane and I was on Delta and I was flying from Minneapolis to Calgary, and they have the live TV. So I watched all the game, and I would say half the airplane was probably watching the game, and people were kind of like reacting when things were going. It was kind of fun, like everyone would be like, "Oh, ooh, like nice play!" Like so, it was kind of fun, like watching it but not watching it with people. And then uh, Indiana kicked a field goal to go up 27-21, and then Miami got the ball back, like you had said, with like what, a minute 40 left or something like that. And I think it was, I want to say, either first or second down when they were at midfield with like a minute left. They were driving down midfield, and all of a sudden, like Beck gets like to the line. He's about to get the snap, and all of a sudden the screens go out and they all go blue, and it says, "We are sorry, but we are no longer in the contingent 48 states, so live TV is no longer available," with like 48 seconds, and everyone in the plane was just like, "Oh!" It was like a collective sigh and groan. It was really funny. And everyone did the like looking around to see if it was just their TV or if it was everyone's TV. So I had to really quickly pull out my phone and follow it on the ESPN app, which, as anyone who follows the ESPN app knows, it's fucking garbage. So it was quite a way to watch the last. In the end, he threw the pick like 2 plays later.
But
So
it's
that's the
also
only
not
thing I
only that,
missed.
the only other thing that's the issue with that app, and it's true with a lot of coverage like that, is you would have had this sort of delay because, as we've spoken about, any play where something big happens, the play takes longer to appear within the app. So you then have that awful moment of like, uh-oh, this is taking 45 seconds, 50 seconds, 60 seconds. Either this is the game-winning touchdown for Miami that's just occurred, or it's a turnover, or maybe it's just some like crazy fumbled, but it went out of bounds. Like you always have that chance. But realistically, it's probably the game is over one way or the other, and I don't know it yet, but it's taking too long and I don't like it. Sometimes it also just because the app is terrible too, it will then end up 90 seconds later being like, third timeout called by Miami. and that they just took forever to sort of input. But yeah, it's not the way you want to consume a game. But yeah, like it was good that it was close. I'll I'll play the hits for you now. It made me really wish that Ohio State had been in the championship game because I think they beat them. Like that was my big takeaway from that. Was
Yeah.
like Ohio State should be kicking themselves for the fact
Yeah.
that they really messed up. Not only they really messed up in the Big Ten championship game where they should have beaten Indiana, and that would have changed their path and kind of made everything a little bit more comfortable. They really messed up by then somehow losing to Miami, and that in reality, they probably. I think if you're an Ohio State player, you watch that game thinking like, "We're better than both of these teams." Like this
Yeah,
is
probably.
And that's not to take anything away from Indiana. It's a super cool story. The only other thing I do want to say, insufferable American sports coverage at times. For whatever reason, there's been a number of journalists. Someone first did it on social media, and then everyone had to run with it. Of Indiana's the most amazing, like outside championship win I've ever seen, aside from when Leicester City won the Premier League. Someone said this, and everyone's kind of kept going with this, and then put together a rest of the list, which I'm this isn't really a criticism of America, but it's so American centric that I think everyone felt like, well, we said Leicester City, so all the other examples we can now name can just be American. Like this is fine. Like because we've shown ourselves to be global. Like I'm really no sports because I said Leicester City, and now I'll say everything else. The list you could run through of other more improbable sports teams winning stuff in European football, like other European sports that would surpass Indiana is huge. And that's not look, I'm not expecting someone to have this sort of exhaustive list, but to be like, isn't it crazy? Indiana turnaround's crazy, but them coming into this season and then winning the national championship, it's not anywhere near on the scale of Leicester City winning the Premier League. Like
Yeah.
it's
I mean, they made the playoffs the year before.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing actually, so I think it's a great story, and I think it's really cool that this place that's the most losingest and football franchise in college is now, won the national championship, and Signetti has turned his team around. I think the Signetti story is pretty remarkable. I mean, for a
I
coach to
find him
come in,
annoying, but yeah.
you can find him annoying all you want, but for a
It's
person to come into a program that was like an absolute dumpster fire, like one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, and to run it around so quickly and bring them up to a national championship in that quickly is remarkable. The part that kind of annoys me is the continual story about how it's a team of 0 and 2-star recruits. Like no one ever recruited us. We're 2-star recruits, blah, blah. That was true 4 years ago when you started in college, but all of you are transfers, and you all were offered a lot of money from a lot of universities in the transfer portal. That is different. Like, you may have been lowly ranked as recruits, but when you popped in the transfer portal, you were highly ranked as transfer portal, like, players. So you cannot make the statement that, like, we are a team that no one recruited us but Signetti, and he got us from high school and brought us in and built us up, because that's not what it was. Like, he got like 90% of that team are NIL transfer deals. So like I hate that narrative. You can still say that, like, we're a team built from transfer portals maybe, but like you can't say we're a team of no recruits, like 0-star recruits, because you weren't recruited by Indiana.
yeah. Hey, I said that a couple weeks ago with the way Mendoza spins it. It is
Yeah.
occasionally frustrating. Only last football topic I guess we need to touch on is of which there have been a few. So a few NFL head coach changes. Today, the Steelers appointed Mike McCarthy. Last episode, I spoke about the fact that I didn't think Robert Saleh was going to get a head coaching job, and then he was almost immediately appointed the Titans head coach.
Yeah.
Feels like some strange appointments. The Steelers one makes sense to me if the idea is that they want to try and keep Aaron Rodgers, and that Mike McCarthy is a familiar face for him.
Maybe.
Like that's the only
That
reason.
could be.
Otherwise, it feels like such an underwhelming performance. Like Mike McCarthy has been an okay head coach in some really great environments, but we've kind of seen he's not going to be the difference maker. Like he is a very to call him a poor man's version of Mike Tomlin, I think would be very generous to Mike McCarthy. And you would be better off rolling the dice and appointing someone with less head coaching experience and hoping that absolutely knocked it out of the park. But this just feels like a really conservative approach in a moment when being conservative kind of serves no purpose from a Steelers perspective. Robert Saleh feels like a really strange appointment for me with the Tennessee Titans because you have Cam Ward, one of the most exciting quarterback prospects in the NFL, and then you're putting in place a purely defensive-minded head coach who has already shown in his brief stint with the Jets that he really struggles to develop quarterbacks. So, like, if I'm Cam Ward, this feels like a huge loss.
Well, he needs to bring in a great offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he does, and maybe that will be Mike McDaniels because they know each other, and that's the kind of attraction of that. But even if he brings in a great offensive coordinator, you're still ultimately he's the you're entrusting him with the development of the entire organization. And then Minter has been appointed as the head coach of the Ravens. So the Chargers defensive coordinator is now there. Yep. And Jeff Hafley appointed head coach of the Miami Dolphins, which we also didn't. That was since we last spoke. So these appointments coming thick and fast. Give them credit. Usually it drags on for a little bit longer than this.
Yeah. Well, I guess everyone's starting to panic a little bit now. Like once the first one gets scooped, everyone needs to get, they don't want to get stuck with the last person.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 4 jobs basically still up. You got the Cardinals, the Bills, the Browns, and the Raiders still haven't appointed a head coach.
If the Bills get Dayball, that would be fucking insane.
I think it's going to be super worrying if you are the Cardinals or the Browns right now. Because you know that the Bills is obviously by far and away the most desirable job.
Oh, yeah.
And then on top of it, the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. So at least of the shit jobs available, it feels like the one where you may be best positioned to go through the full rebuild. And if you're the Cardinals and the Browns sitting there, you're like, we are picking up the scraps here of people who want to be head coaches.
The Cardinals have one good tight end and the Browns have one good D end. That's it.
But it's, not looking good for them. Anything else sports related to discuss?
No, I think we covered a lot today.
We did, yeah. I did like, speaking of the head coaches, Harbaugh pissed me off immediately during his Giants press conference where he said, my dad taught me that they were the New York football Giants.
Hell
and really
yeah.
leaned into that.
Let's bring it back.
One of the stupidest things in sport.
Bring it back. They're not the baseball Giants, Eddie.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Otherwise, I would have been confused.
You might have been.
I've been like, wait,
60 years ago when they both played in New York.
Harbaugh's the manager of the San Francisco Giants now? Is this what's happened? It seems like a controversial move. Quick baseball talk as well. Very, very brief, I suppose. Just the Dodgers who continue to go out and spend billions upon millions upon billions. Just making a complete joke out of the luxury tax setup that they have in baseball. Now, I think this year, the Dodgers will now be paying more luxury tax than currently 4 teams are spending on their actual rosters.
That's crazy.
It's just so stupid.
Yeah.
And either just get rid of the concept of the luxury tax, because I will say this also as a fan of the A's, all it's doing is basically saying to the owners of these shit teams of like, don't even put in any effort. You're not going to win anyway because the Dodgers are assembling this super team that's basically should be unbeatable over a 7-game series. But not only that, they're going to write you a check each year in exchange for doing it. Like you're like,
oh yeah, just cashing in.
Yeah, you're going to, here's my $15 million Dodgers check for me being the shittiest owner in sports. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, what a move.
Anyway, that probably wraps up the sports talk. Anything else to discuss?
We're running a little long, so I guess I'll just be quick with non-sports. So on the plane, the way there, I watched the championship games. I didn't watch any movies. But on the way back, I watched The Roses. It's the new. It's an old. It was originally done, but now it's been redone with Benedict Cumberbatch and oh Jesus, oh my God, Olivia Colman. Sorry, I had a little fart there. Actually, pretty funny. I was laughing a lot at one point. Like, 2 people looked over me at one point because I was laughing kinda hard. It's it's an adult comedy. Like, they curse a lot. They have some pretty, like, suggestive language. I thought it was pretty charming, pretty funny movie, not long, good plane movie. Definitely worth a watch if you have, some time to kill on a plane and want a good laugh. I thought it was kinda funny. They were both pretty funny in it. Um that's what I watched, and then the other, I guess, talking point would be the Pit, episode 3. We can be pretty brief, I think, about it. Again, this was, I think, the last setup episode because at the end of the so spoilers if you haven't seen episode 3 of the Pit, stop and watch and then come back. But I think we're kind of seeing what's going to happen now because at the end of the episode they say that the other local hospital is being shut down, so everything's being shunted to the Pit. So now they're gonna have this enormous influx of patients, during July 4th. So I think that's gonna be the premise for that's gonna be this year's Pit Fest, if you will.
Yeah, nothing too remarkable out of it other than that. Aside from making Santos even less likable as a character, because whilst I can understand the concern for the child in that dynamic in the situation where she thought maybe the child was being abused by either the father or the girlfriend or someone else, but the fact that she seemed sort of somewhat pleased that the mistake that she had made then resulted in the girlfriend telling the father to fuck off and leave, like, that felt like a weird she was sort of somehow saw that as some kind of victory lap moment for her in the sort of way that it portrayed her face. That was a bit bizarre.
Yeah. Well, you knew that was coming because she had the victory in season 1 of kind of being right with the drugs. So you knew this time she was gonna be wrong because she is very cocky. So I kind of saw that coming that she was gonna be wrong. It was gonna be some medical condition. Um, but yeah, it's kinda neat. They're kind of doing the whole, like, shuttling new people in and out. Like, in the beginning of the episode, you saw the people who were kind of leaving the ER, and they're kind of getting rid of them, and as new people come in. It's the show's still very well done. Uh, and actually not the most gruesome episode, probably the least gruesome episode of the season so far, besides the
Yeah,
guy's
probably.
skull with the brain being out. That was brief.
Yeah,
That guy was
overall,
dead.
yeah, turns
They
out
didn't
dead.
operate on that.
No. And no little moment of silence for him either.
Not
Yeah, it's always true. It's a great thing about dead people. They rarely leave.
they barely get up and sign their papers. Because they don't know to put an autograph or their printer name. So,
Yes, exactly.
common mistake of dead people.
Can't sign themselves out. Very, very brief. I have started watching in just sort of days of like, oh, nothing to really watch. Started watching the TV show From, which is
From
started a couple of years ago. Like season 3 is wrapped up.
Oh god, it's Michael from Lost, this
Yeah,
fucking guy. I
yeah.
fucking hate him. This guy still haunts me with his "Walt! Walt!" That's all he did for 4 fucking seasons on Lost. "I gotta get my boy back!" He's the fucking most annoying character on the planet. Oh god. Fucking Michael.
Wow, that really didn't think that's gonna win
Triggered.
folk.
That triggered me. As soon as I saw his face, I got triggered.
It's like it's not good. It's I think an easy way to describe it is and I was not a Lost fan to begin with. I mean, the concept of Lost is fantastic, but they lost their way over the course of the show with kinda not really knowing what to do. To describe it as a bad version of Lost, I think would be probably appropriate in that it's trying to be, like, kinda smart and mysterious and, there's, "Ooh, where are we?" It's not good, but it's quite watchable. Like, it's one of those shows where you can just put it on in the background, and I'm kind of blowing through the seasons pretty rapidly at this stage. Kinda hating myself for watching it, I would encourage our listeners to avoid it if possible.
Too bad you're not watching the YouTube shorts. You could get right through it.
It may happen. I mean, I'm still in season 1. That might be what ends up happening for season 2 and 3.
All right. I guess with that, we'll call it a day.
Sounds good.
And I'll talk to you later.
See ya.